Sumo wrestling is an incredibly interesting sport. There's bound to be curiosity around the sport that involves two very large men in what look like underwear trying to push each other out of a small circle. There's no question that many have wondered what it is that gets sumo wrestlers as large as they are. Well, wonder no more. Join us as we look deep into the sport of sumo wrestling. First, let's discuss the basics of sumo wrestling. While the rules of sumo wrestling may appear simple to its followers, new viewers could not tell you much if you asked about the sport. The main thing you need to know is that it involves two very large men that fight in a 4.5 meter ring, which is called a doyo. In doyo, the two wrestlers, or rikishi, the goal of the game is to put the other wrestler out of the doyo, and if that's not achievable, the game can be won if one of the wrestlers makes the other touch the ground with any part of their body other than the soles of their feet. The makunoichi are the top 5 of all rikishi, with the wrestlers being divided into 10 ranks based on their ability. The tournaments for Grand Sumo last for 15 days. After the games, the victories are counted, and the rikishi with the most wins under their belt are titled the winners. The outfits that sumo wrestlers wear are not underwear, as many people may think. The pieces of loincloth are called mawashi. Next, let's take a look at the history of sumo. Sumo wrestling is a sport that has been around long before any of us. In fact, prehistoric paintings on ancient walls show that the sport came from an agricultural ritual dance that was performed as prayer in order to attract a good harvest. While the paintings on the wall showed us sumo's origins, the first mention of sumo was traced back to 712 in Jojiki manuscript. It was revealed by the Nihon Shoki that the first official game between two human mortals took place all the way back in the year 23 BC. This first fight was between two men named Nomi no Sukun and Taima no Kuhaya. The game ended when Nomi no Sukun killed Taima no Kuhaya. It's safe to say that in the years since the game was first played, the rules have changed drastically and for the better. Nomi no Sukenya delivered 2 kicks, the first breaking Taima no's ribs, and the second eventually killing him. This was not a rarity either, as until the Japanese Middle Ages came around, the winner of a sumo game was always the only survivor. Now let's talk about what it is that makes rikishi as large as they are. Sumo is interesting to many as it is, but what really grabs people's attention is the size of the sumo wrestlers who engage in the tournaments. What makes them as large as they are? Well, the sumo wrestlers must gain a great amount of weight in order to compete in the tournaments. This is because it's simply true that the larger a competitor is, the more force they have to use on their opponent. Sumo wrestlers are very large, but if you actually look at the wrestler's weight percentage, you'd see that in most cases, they have more muscle than fat. The muscle helps sumo wrestlers apply excessive force against their opponent, force that they can use to push him out of the ring. Sumo wrestling takes much more than just being a large man. You must eat a special diet that's crafted for the sport, as well as exercising in order to shift weight to parts of the body that needed to be bulked up. Moving on, let's talk about the wrestler's special diet. Sumo wrestlers have to take special precautions in order to get to the tournament weight. The largest a wrestler has ever been is 588 pounds. This wrestler did not become nearly 600 pounds doing nothing and eating whatever. One may think that a sumo wrestler eats nothing but junk, but that couldn't be farther from the truth. Sumo wrestlers eat something that is called chankonabe. This meal, appropriately nicknamed sumo stew, is a hot pot that sumo wrestlers will eat in large quantities. It's basically the only thing they eat. Of course, they will switch out the ingredients every now and then, so they're not stuck repeatedly eating the same thing. The hot pots are mostly stuffed with chicken, also including most times is fish balls, shrimp, crabs, sausages, bacon, and sliced pork belly. This meal doesn't have a specific recipe, as it's made to the taste of the person eating it. The only mandatory ingredient are both vegetables and protein, as they help the wrestler to bulk up. Let's now discuss modern-day sumo wrestling. The sport of sumo has changed a great deal since the fight to the death days of the past. The sport is played so often it has been officially named the national sport of Japan, where the tournaments are held. In 1 year, Japan will hold 6 sumo tournaments, with each tournament lasting for 15 days. It all equals out to 90 days worth of sumo wrestling. 3 of the 6 tournaments are held in Tokyo. A Hanbasho is the main event for sumo tournaments. In the Hanbasho, the two top divisions of wrestlers, Makuchi and Juryo, head off against each other for 15 days. While people mainly watch the Hanbasho from the top two divisions, the lower divisions will wrestle as well. They will only wrestle for 7 of Hanbasho's 15 days. The goal of the Hanbasho is to be the winner of the Kachikoshi, which is the award given to the winner. Playoffs are rare, but they do happen sometimes. If they don't, then 2 wrestlers competing in the tournament will only go against each other once. The games can also end in Fusenpai, which is a loss by default when a wrestler withdraws from the tournament. Let's now talk about some of the most known wrestlers. Chiyano Fuji. In 2015 alone, 767,000 people watched sumo. Clearly, the sport has gained some dedicated fans in the modern age. Fans are known for picking favorites, and sumo's no different. One of the fans' favorite sumo wrestlers is none other than the incredible Chiyo Nafuji. Chiyo Nafuji was a very small wrestler, weighing only 260 pounds, where most sumo wrestlers are up to 2 to 3 times the size of an average adult. Chiyano Fuji, on the other hand, was barely overweight. Many thought that Chiyano Fuji would not be able to compete with sumo wrestlers of larger sizes. They would be proven wrong. While he wasn't as big as most sumo wrestlers, he was much more swift and light on his feet. Chiyano Fuji was also skilled as a fighter. One of his techniques was dubbed the death grip. Chiyano Fuji was known for his dramatic throw moves as well, where he used to fling his opponents across the ring into a victory for him. Chiyano Fuji retired in May of 1991 and ran his very own sumo stable. Chiyano Fuji ran his stable until he unfortunately died of cancer in 2016 at the age of 61. Finally, let's talk about Hokuto Fuji. The 2022 Grand Tournament's clearly in full swing, and one of the most talked about wrestlers this year is Hokuto Fuji. The 30-year-old wrestler only started 7 years ago in 2015 when he was 25 years old. Now, the wrestler's been competing in the Autumn Grand Sumo Tournament and has been killing it. Hokuto Fuji has a 9-game winning streak. He took down Wakamoto Haru by halting his attacks and returning a swift and effective charge forward. Hokuto Fuji's charge forward push Wakamoto Haru to the edge, where he quickly slammed him down, winning the match. There are only 6 games left in the tournament, and Hokuto Fuji is currently looking like a very good contender for the winner. Just 1 day before he beat Wakamoto Haru, he won against Tamawashi, giving the wrestler his first loss of the tournament. If Hokuto Fuji keeps on going as he's been for the last 9 games, he will be getting his 8 Kimboshi, which is the award that is given to people of Makuchi, his wrestling division. Hokuto Fuji's win put him 1 ahead of Tamawashi, which is right where he needed to be. The sport of sumo is one that is interesting to many and continues to gain followers. Now we know what it takes to make them large as they are. Do you think you can make it eating like a sumo wrestler? Let us know what you think down below. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.